Hi, guys. Welcome to the Critics' Choice Awards Feature Film Nominees Roundtable. Okay, this is as good as it gets. And it's one of those moments when you want to thank technology because all these talented people you see on the screen are very busy and they're joining us from different parts of the country. And we're able to do this thanks to technology. The Critics' Choice Awards is India's most credible awards show, is a distinctive partnership between India's top critics across the country, known as the Film Critics Guild, and media conglomerate Group M Motion Pictures and media conglomerate Group M Motion Entertainment in collaboration with Vista's Media Capital. This is our sixth edition. The Film Critics Guild is a 50-member strong guild with representation from different platforms across different languages. And today we are here with, of course, our best in the business, the nominees in the feature films category. So I'm going to begin by introducing all my guests today. We have Achal Mishra. Achal, welcome.
Hi, thank you.
You have been nominated for Best Film, Best Writing, and Best Editing for Dhuin. There is Devashish Makhija, nominated for Best Film, Best Director, and Best Writing for Joram. Kalki Koechlin is nominated for Best Actress in Goldfish. There is Prosenjit Chatterjee, Boombada, nominated for Best Actor in Shesh Pata. Rima Das, nominated for Best Film, Best Director, Best Writing, and Best Editing for Tora's Husband. And Shefali Shah, nominated in the Best Actress category for Three of Us. So thank you so much for joining in. If you look at our nominations and the films that have been nominated, do you think this is a fertile landscape for independent filmmaking in the country? What are the sort of challenges that you think are not spoken enough for independent filmmakers?
Yeah, I think Achal and me and Rima get this question a lot. The independent filmmaking scene, unfortunately, hasn't changed at all. It's just a few exceptions that on a platform like this get celebrated. But these few exceptions, I mean, I'll speak for Rima, for Achal. I know to some extent their struggles as well. I mean, the odds that we're up against are infinite. The very fact that maybe Rima's on her fourth film, I'm on my fourth film, is a bit of a miracle, but it's many, many, many years in the making. I'm sure we would all like to make more films. We would like to make them with a little more money so we can pay people and not work in this constant cycle of exploitation, because I call myself out these things all the time. I can't pay my people. I work with some of the best in the business. I can't pay them what they deserve. So there are those struggles, and those struggles aren't going away anytime soon. So the few films that actually make it out there, like the films of the people represented on this roundtable, are the exceptions. And those are by artists who have consistently chosen to walk that path. And it comes at a price.
Achal, Rima, do you want to add something to that?
It is always that challenge is there. And it is most of us, we are making movies because we are really passionate to make movies. And that's the reason we are making. And a lot of my things I do by myself. It is quite a different process. Probably a lot of also other directors, independent directors facing because they need at least a modest budget to make a movie.
Yeah.
But also the sad part is when response from audience is good, positive response we are having, but mostly because of the promotion, the lacking of marketing and promotion, and that our films are not reaching a wider audience. That is always there. And so we need to realize, how it is to balance. It is a delicate balance to having a market value, making profit, and also, how to preserve essence of cinema. If we more and more people, brave producers, they come out and they understand about good cinema. It is the impact of good cinema in the society as a whole, and also in the long term how it can contribute. If we understand more, then I think it will change. But sometimes it is always like suddenly you feel good things are happening, then suddenly again it is in the same stage. So that is what we can see. But I am a person always hopeful. I want to remain hopeful, and I just want to love what I believe. I believe in cinema. I believe in power of storytelling, and just I want to do it. Yes.
Right. In that sense, the filmmakers, this panel is equally divided between three filmmakers, three actors, and you're all very prolific in the sense you write your own films, you're directing, you're editing. Achal, what are the sort of challenges that you have gone through in making the kind of cinema that you believe in?
So the Dhuin is my second film, and my first one was called Gramak. After Gramak, I was not sure what my second film was going to be because there were all these options. I was in Bombay and I was doing all these meetings, and at the end of all of it, I realized, for the kind of cinema I really want to make, it was not really working. So we had to, Dhuin is made on a 50,000 rupee production budget. We spent like 50,000 rupees, and it was just four of us driving around in a car and shooting it in like 15 days. So, Dhuin is indie maybe subsame. We were like, we had nothing. We were not sure of what we had made until very late. Like we were thinking we are doing a short, trying things, experimenting, and then it ended up being a feature that it is. So obviously it's and especially for a process like mine, which is where I don't write complete scripts, and it's so much more impulsive and intuitive in that way. It's very hard to get a proper funding initially, like when I'm starting out. So in some ways I've kind of made that my process now, where I try and shoot without a budget, and then once I have something, then I go around looking for funding to complete the film. So Dhuin in that way was a big learning experience as well, in terms of what kind of process I need. And after Dhuin, I made another film, and it was a slightly bigger budget, and then it didn't work the same way as it had in the first one in Dhuin. So going ahead, I think.
I know. So talking about your own being true to your artistic vision, we've spoken about the lack of funding. We've spoken about how you want more budgets to market these films so that they reach the right audience. My next question is directed to the actors on this panel. The filmmakers have been very honest about the sort of challenges they face. But even the films that you guys have been nominated in, they're not the mainstream, massy, big budget films that we see people thronging the cinemas to watch. These are slightly, as they say, left of center. They have a niche audience. It's trying to say a story in a way to reach a particular audience. As actors, what are the sort of challenges that you face in trying to do the roles that you'd like to?
Of course, I would love to talk about Stutee Ghosh. He's not here, the maker of our Shesh Pata, if you know. He has been constantly trying to do the same thing, the kind of cinema he wants to make. It's a tough thing, to today's date, not to compromise. He's been really, for years, he's been trying to do the kind of cinema he wants to do. And I'm so happy that at least we all are sitting with a little bit of my experience working for the last 40 years, that we are sitting in a platform where different kind of a cinema, the language of cinema, which people really want to do. As an actor also, I have challenges like the film has to have a box office, right? I'm coming from absolutely a mainstream cinema background. I have done around 300 mainstream cinema.
Sure.
But if you see my personal take, it's my personal take, that we have to work on mainstream cinema, which is important. But at the same time, we also need to do some kind of a character which will be, let me tell you in a way that when my son will grow up, he should say that my father had also done this kind of a film. You know, there are some work which is for me and for my next generation, which is going to be there, and also supporting the directors who really want to do something very different. In all of my career, if you see, I have been also working when I used to do hardcore mainstream cinema. Then also I started doing with Ritu and Buddha and all of those things. That's my personal take, because I think for us, we have nothing to lose in that way. But we can gain a lot of things, you know. A maker coming to me with a very different subject, with a different take, with a different kind of a character. And if I take that as a challenge, and if I can really deliver, then I'm so honored to sit with these very talented directors and actors today. I really feel like I am from I will say a different generation, but today's actors are doing so good work. Today's directors are doing so good work. So I should also do some good work that I can cater to the different kind of an audience. I think, and it's a challenge. It's a challenge because end of the day, they talk about that, the same thing. It also happened with Bangla, Marathi, Hindi, that the budget, the kind of a budget we have. I don't look into it. Then I don't come as that my all those star baggages. I try to do the film with honesty. So I think that's the way I look at
it. Right.
I think the challenges change with time, and definitely with a woman with age. You know, I'm not going to be a 20-year-old heroine. I'm now 40, and I'm going to get different roles, but also I have grown as a person and perhaps don't have the patience to sit on a movie being like a sidekick and spending 6 months of my time working on something just because it's going to be a big film, you know. So those priorities have changed, of course, because I've become a mother to a young child. So I want to spend a lot of more time at home. And actually, for me, it's the gems like Goldfish where I get to really dig my teeth in and be that I get excited. I want to give up my time for that, and my time with my family for something like that, but not necessarily to, you know, just be part of a big production. So that's just a priority at this point in my life. And of course, there'll come a moment where later I will be like, oh my God, I need more audience to watch my movies. I need to remember acting. And so those priorities change with, you know, constantly, year by year. Of course, the challenges of being an older woman and not being cast as like, you know, a nondescript auntie or something start to. And I think for me, the way I keep going back to my confidence, because, you know, when you don't work for a long time, especially when I've had a baby, then there was COVID lockdown, you know. So you kind of wonder, can I still act? Am I still going to get work and all of those things? I think what brings back my confidence is getting on the floor and doing a play, you know, and I've just started one called I'm Okay, which is all about motherhood and not you're okay when you say you're okay. So, you know, being alive for me is really that, is just being on stage and or at least just being on the floor and creating, keeping those tools alive for me is very important. And then, these waves come and go, you know, where people are like, independent cinema, and then it goes down again, and everyone's scared now because, you know, everybody's lost money and nobody wants to risk anything. So then there's a whole lull, and then you have like only like certain kinds of box office films. It keeps changing. And then even like what you call mainstream has changed, right? Now what we see on Netflix and Amazon is becoming mainstream. Wave of sort of independence. So
it's a very interesting point, which I'm going to come to. But Shefali, you know, I'd want to hear how ruthlessly and how many times have you had to say no to roles that you feel aren't doing justice to your talent?
Not ruthlessly. I don't enjoy it. So I won't be fair to myself or the project or the director if I say yes to something that I don't believe in. In fact, I feel we are extremely lucky to be a part of a time where these stories are being told.
Yeah.
The very fact that we're here discussing this, I mean, it's a lot. Earlier, there was a distinct divide of, let's say, parallel cinema and commercial cinema. But I think that is also kind of merging and diluting over time. There are so many films that did. I'm not talking about the last year where there were all these huge films, but I'm talking about much earlier. And when I say much earlier, it's not like 100 years ago, but there are films which are completely unconventional, and yet they've done pretty well at the box office. So it's very encouraging. But yes, there are struggles, like all of them said. It's not easy. But then I guess what you love isn't always going to come easy. And we do have an option. We all do have an option of saying, okay, I'll do a commercial film. I'll get paid this much. I will, have all the luxuries possible. But then this is what we choose to do. And I'm extremely proud of the choice I make. I really am. And thank God, I mean, it doesn't bother me. It never has. It's never been about, oh, I want to be in this big star cast film and, I want to see my face on a hoarding. And anyway, I don't think anybody wants to see my face on a hoarding.
So these were also opening remarks from all the panelists here. I hope we've all warmed up. And now I'd love for you to basically speak over me and interact with each other, and let's have like a more fluid conversation. So a question that I'm going to throw to all of you, and whoever's comfortable can answer. The one thing that I get from hearing all your points of view is the fact that somewhere we all reach that level of optimism where, with the coming of OTT, with the flux, we thought things are changing, and there will be acceptance for different kinds of content, different kinds of cinema will get its space. Probably the audience is there and ready, but filmmaking is also an expensive business. And unless you're able to get the money that you need to tell your story, it's going to be very difficult to sustain yourself. How many of you would agree with this? And just speak about the fact that how even OTT, because I think that's a point that Kalki brought up, that even that in so many ways has become so mainstream, which we thought would be a platform that's going to encourage alternate narratives and different kinds of stories to come on.
If I may go first.
Yeah.
So around 2015-16, I made a spate of short films that sort of went viral on YouTube. And this came on the heels of a film by Shujoy called Ahalya that hit like 5 million views a month back in 2015-14. So everyone started talking about how YouTube is going to save us, how the short film medium is going to replace the feature film medium, and everyone and their uncles and their aunts were running to this medium. Within a year, that bubble burst. So all of these are, like Kalki was saying, they're here today, they're gone tomorrow. And often I've seen that the artists who, like Satyajit Ray, for example, if I take the name of an artist who everyone knows, he sort of spread himself thin over many mediums. He was not just making films, because if as an artist, you're going to put all your eggs in one basket, you're constantly going to be waiting for that next big messiah to come and save. And those messiahs never come. Like Netflix across the world, before they came to India, their sort of strategy has always been to enter a market that they've not had any presence in by supporting very, very independent voices. And within 2 years, they drop those voices like a hot potato because they need to be in first so that they can take on the big guys. And when they launched with 4 of Q's films, I remember telling everybody that don't hold your breath. They're just trying to make their presence felt. In 3 years, strategies will change and we will all be left out in the cold. So keep doing what you want to do. And today there's Netflix, tomorrow there'll be somebody else. Yesterday there was YouTube. And that will keep changing, but your voice needs to stand steadfast. Your voice starts altering itself to, suit the messiah. You're not going to stay an artist.
The fact that today, like you guys said, that, there was YouTube a couple of years back, now there's Netflix, and we can clearly see a change in strategy. are you guys still hopeful? Because somewhere when we talk about mainstream and we talk about the big cinemas, they're only the spectacle films that are doing really well. And somewhere, um, the more subtle, the more different sort of films are getting pushed also again to say OTT, where you very casually say things like, "Oh, that's a good film, but I think it would have done better on OTT." Audience, film-going audiences will only come for those really big budget, big face card films. What do you guys feel about that?
Until last year, even that was a question, no?
Yeah.
Because there were no films working, irrespective of what they were. And it's, thank God, the films are working on the big screen finally. It's great. Also, I feel going to a theatre is a culture in our country that's not going to change. A person who goes from Andheri to Virar every day to work, he takes one weekend off, has a minimal income, he wants to go and enjoy himself with his family eating samosa and popcorn.
Yeah.
Now, and also what is happening is a lot of films, you know, the attitude is, it's going to come on OTT, so why go and watch it on the big screen?
Yeah.
At the same time, and honestly, I don't see it derogatory if it's going to come on OTT. I really don't, because I think it's going to reach a far bigger audience. It's there for posterity. It's not determined by the box office on Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and which is amazing. Because I mean, that's what was one of the most amazing things when OTT came to us was, and I'm talking about it as a student of cinema, not as an actor or being a part of the industry, is that I could watch whatever I wanted from across the globe in all languages, and no matter how big or small or lost, to say, the film or a short film or a series was. And that is amazing. I remember when I did this film called Once Again, and I remember having this whole conversation with the producers, and they were like, we want to release it in the theaters. I said, please don't do it. Please. It's a very delicate film. It'll get lost. And once that Friday goes and it has this stamp of that film didn't work, it's so sad. It's really sad, because there's so much heart and soul that goes into making these delicate films. So I'd rather it get a proper release and, everyone watches it. Like right now with three of us, it had a release. I mean, I don't even think the actors knew what the release was.
Yeah.
Kahan dikha rahe, wo hi nahi pata tha. Like probably one show or something like that. I think one of them might be showing in my house only.
No elaborate promotion plans also. Yeah.
Nothing at all. Nothing at all. Not when it went on the big screen, not when it came on OTT. But after it came on OTT, and I'm saying yes, probably, unfortunately, that chance is lost. Everyone who's seen it, one is loving it. Like there is a new audience for that film all of a sudden. It's just taken a life of its own. And secondly, everyone is really feeling miserable. They didn't watch it on the big screen because it's a spectacle. I mean, I'm not like the commercial films, but yeah, like there are so many people who watch the film thrice in the first week. I'm not going to do that in a theater. So I honestly don't regret it, that it's there somewhere for posterity. It's going to be watched, and it's not burdened with what works on box office.
Today we have OTT, we used to have like maybe YouTube ads. And when you start doing a film, whether it is in Bangla, Assami, Hindi, this kind of a film which you want to do, I mean, it is a very difficult thing. You see, today's date, maybe the language can be from any of this place. Like, we are unable to watch the films. That's number one. I mean, I'm talking about the audience. I haven't watched a lot of films because it's not available. Now, to get the proper OTT is also a huge challenge for this kind of a film. Like my Shesh Pata, though it's Prosenjit cast, which is big for Bangla, hasn't come to OTT because they're fighting to come into a right platform. So that is also a big challenge where I think it is not only, you see, we talk about Satyajit Roy, his first production was produced by our West Bengal state government. Like, so we also need to identify or make a platform, which is, you people are doing very helpful, that at least we are sitting and talking about few films, which are great films. young directors are doing film and great actors are working. But my point is that we are unable to watch it. We are waiting for OTT. So I think we should also need to do something where we need to at least watch it, and somewhere we all can promote. Not waiting that the film is going to come in one day in OTT and then people should watch it. I think there some other platform like NFDC and all has to play a big role, which I personally feel to take it a little forward. Otherwise, it is really, really difficult. People talk when it comes to OTT is a rebirth, I will tell you. Sometimes it's a rebirth. After a long time, when it comes to a good platform, then people start talking about the film. And we as a creator, actor, artist, we get very happy. But it's really a very difficult situation till now, I'm telling you, to do something little, different. I don't understand this mainstream big film, and for me, Pothir Panchali is the biggest commercial film ever made till today. It's earning. So it's a good film or a bad film, but for me, I think for us we need to do something to come together and at least stand. I had released a film, which I was not the producer, Dostoji. The film was, last year. It's a young director's first time he worked on the film for last 4 or 5 years. And I just presented the film. So at least people had watched it. I think we also have some responsibilities. We should share that responsibility for the young filmmakers or something which is thoughtful.
Absolutely. Achal, is one of your films is available on Mubi?
Yes, both of them were on Mubi. Now one of them is there.
Okay, and what sort of challenges did you have to go through to get your films to a platform?
I mean, with Gamak, there was like a complete blockage. Like nobody had heard. We tried everywhere. We tried Netflix, Prime, and everything. And we were surprised that people hadn't heard of the language Mathili, so they couldn't categorize it anywhere in there. So nobody was ready to take it at that time, and we had a limited theatrical option at that time because of an award we had got at the Film Bazaar. But due to the COVID lockdown, we couldn't do that. So eventually, and thankfully, Mubi India had just launched around that time. And although the pay wasn't what a Netflix would have paid or a Prime would have paid, we agreed to sort of go on Mubi, and that really sort of going to a Netflix would have been we would have been put under underrated gems or hidden gems. And on Mubi we were highlighted. We were the stars there. So that got us a really good audience, and also because it was lockdown. With Dhuin, I knew even before starting to sort of pitch it anywhere that this is going to be harder because again Mathili and the duration, which was 50 minutes. So when you can't really call it a feature or a short, then it's going to be even tougher. And theatrical also, I couldn't see any possibility. So again we went directly to Mubi with a better pay, obviously, this time.
Lovely, good to hear that, and you stay undeterred.
And what I'm saying that we are better, like we are always worried what is going to happen. Most of the films in India, the industry is profit driven. But if we are talking about independent films, so we are always worried, and certain things we can do, like I'm a director, or she's an actor, or he's an actor, or maybe someone is producer. So we think that, oh, it's not my job. But sometimes I feel like, okay, India, if I look, not I'm going outside, but in India, the good part is we are a big country, we have large consumers. And now when OTT, they are differently, in different times, they are working differently. But if we don't want to lose hope, I feel like, because I'm coming from Assam, someone coming from Maharashtra, or maybe South, how we can create a support system and contribute in a small way. We need to raise that awareness. A lot of people still, they are not aware, like these films are exist, We need how like can create film appreciation course. We need to start a conversation. Maybe it will take time, but we need to build a community. If we love cinema as a cinema lover, not as a director or like as an actor, but as a cinema lover, if we want this cinema kind of cinema to exist, then maybe taking small steps, reaching our audience. I have audience in Assam, so I saw like if we are talking like Devashish film or Anchal's films, maybe at his place or at my state, how we can create audience. So I see that always it talks. We are just talking about it every time. I'm like in interviews, I'm always getting these questions about independent cinema, how it's working, how it is hard, about the money part, the budget, and how to make it, the struggle. But in how realistically, in practical sense, are we working? Like we can build, we can create small festivals, because I approached even schools in Assam when Tora's husband got released, and they actually came, they came to cinema, and their perspective quite different from some of my like audience who are matured. So I think that this kind of cinema viewing is still not there, and it might take a longer time. It might take 5 years, 10 years, but we need to, build this community and take really small steps to, that so that probably don't need to talk. And it's a choice. If I'm making this kind of cinema, that it is my choice. It is just love. And I don't want to get bitter inside what I'm doing. Probably is not making profit. We are all the time struggling. So I have started thinking and having conversation how probably we can build audience, a new kind of audience, and reach more, people. Yes.
We of course have spent considerable time discussing the challenges. But tell me the one thing you love about the fact that you're able to tell the stories that you want to, and you're able to do the kind of roles that you like. To both the actresses on the panel, you're nominated in the same category. Also, both your films have have the common thread of dementia, although it's dealt with very different. But what is the sort of preparation that you did because the subject is also something that not a lot of people understand, and it has to be dealt with a certain sensitivity.
After I did, so Delhi Crime became a learning curve for me. I changed the way I worked, completely changed the way I worked, and I realized why some of the greatest actors, I would say, across the globe read a script like a million times. You read it and then you move on. But with DC, it wasn't as simple. Also, when you're remembering 8 hours of film, it's not as simple as remembering a 2-hour film. When you remember a 2-hour film, you don't want to go back to it. Anyway, so there was a lot of prep that went into DC. On my own account, I wanted to study it. I wanted to rip every word apart. I wanted to chew my director's brain. When I came to 3 of us, I tried doing the same thing. And I realized that probably this film would work if I just got lost. I didn't want to know. I didn't want to know the answers. I didn't want to find myself. And I remember calling Avinash, and I think that was a common thread between both of us. I remember calling Avinash and saying, on the first day of shoot, I was heading to location, and I said, I hope you know what you're doing, because I don't. And he said, I don't either. And I said, fantastic. We're on a great path together. Also, the first thing that struck when I remember the first time I read like Avinash narrated just like a synopsis and stuff to me, and I said, I don't see it as a sad film. I see it, in fact, as a film of rediscovery. I see it as complete awe and fascination of going back to being a child. And I'm glad we stuck to that. I'm really glad we stuck to that, because you expect a film like this to be melancholy. You expect it to be sad. You expect to come out of it feeling, oh my God, how terrible. But that is not what this film is about. It's really about just, it's almost like a childlike awe, and which I think is the USP of the film. And yes, dementia is a big part, but I honestly think the film is about going back and finding yourself, who you've left at various places in various times of your life, and what you would want to reclaim. So I don't know whether I answered your question, but yeah.
You did, and very beautifully put. Kalki, in your film, of course, we have your mother, your on-screen mother, who's dealing with it, and as a caregiver, how do you even process something like that?
I was just very excited to do Goldfish because it had been 1.5 years of mothering and breastfeeding and not knowing when I would work again. So I was thrilled, and it was also a very tight, closed set because we were in the second lockdown, and we had to be in this COVID bubble, quarantine together, rehearse together. So it kind of became a bit like a play process. Like, we got 2 weeks to rehearse and read and then get on floor. So I loved that process. And I also got excited because I could use my British accent, which I studied in London. So I always wanted to like make use of this skill that I had in me. And in terms of the subject, which is dementia, I think, it's really Deepti who had to go through that. And Deepti had a lot of hands-on experience because her mother had dementia and she took care of her in her last few years. But her anecdotes told me so much about caregiving, because she told me a story when her mother used to like very sugary chai. Okay, so at 4 p.m. in the afternoon, she would like to have her chai, but she would forget that she's had her chai. And she had like diabetes and God knows what. So, she cannot have another chai. But she was so angry that her daughter was not giving her her chai because it was her first chai, according to her. So Deepti at first used to argue, Mama, you cannot have it. It's bad for your health, And then she realized it's not working. And she just started leaving the cups of chai and saying, look, Mama, your chai, you just had it. And so, she was able to kind of grasp that she had it. And I think it's this, I think there's so much resistance. I feel it even with my mom, who's not got dementia, but who's losing memory sometimes, of getting angry with them, and being like, I'm right, listen to me. But it's about letting go of that. And I think Goldfish is really about letting go of the control, as much for the caregiver as the person with dementia, and saying that what is left is all we have, these little moments in the moment today, is what we have. And it's heartbreaking and beautiful at the same time.
Bhumika, coming to you, we've spoken about challenges of trying to make a film that's not very mainstream in its outlook. But do you think you've done a lot, you're a Bengali film superstar. Today, do you feel slightly angry when a new set of audience discovers you on OTT and feels like that's where you're born, and is just so not aware of your body of work or the years of that you've put into your career? How do you process all of that?
No, I'm not in anger at all, because I think for me, getting a new audience when I did Jubilee also, it's like reaching out to a new audience, right? In a way, if you ask me personally, when I used to do again those mainstream films, But when I started working after Autograph, with Autograph and Baishes Shabon to all those Mon and Manush, I think I reinvented a new audience for me, even the new generation for me, which I always looked upon that I should do something which will cater. When I do my Kaka Babu series, that I do for the kids, right? So for me, doing a film like Shesh Pata or Otunu's film or Gautam Ghosh's film is to reach out to a different kind of an audience, that I shouldn't get stuck into a special, what do I say, in a basket where people only say that I'm a mainstream actor or I'm a big superstar. Or no, it's not that. It's not the question of star or stardom or superstar. We all are artists and we need to explore that. And for me, it's always been like I have worked with the absolutely first time directors who are very new, first time. And I had done mostly with them and they had come up with the magic. Because what I feel, I come with a lot of baggages, I come up with a lot of baggages of my 300 commercial film, Prosenjit, the senior actor. I don't want to get into all this. I want to come just like with my director like a child. Let them take out another kind of a thing from me, which Ritu started very early. I mean, he had started with me quite a long back, but after that, this new director has been exploring, and I also had given up, not looking at that what is going to happen in my box office or my this thing. So I think this is what I'm enjoying. Honestly speaking, you have to enjoy. End of the day, what you're working. So I'm enjoying it, and again, I'm saying it's a fan moment because Shefali is like I haven't met her in that way, but I'm a huge fan of her, like as an actor.
And it's absolutely equal.
Yeah, I'm a huge
Totally
fan.
equal.
I still remember when she did Ritu's film. I told after watching the film, I think I was watching the film in Toronto. I said in the entire film, I think only she was your actor. I know his pulse. He's that the kind of thing she. So I think this is what I think we were discussing. What Rima also told is the right thing. I don't know. I'm not trying to give any kind of a gyan. But today, right now, we are sitting in a platform where at least we know these are the good directors. There are the different kind of from the different language. We need to create a platform, which is true. We need to create a platform to come out with some kind of a different film, and we need to support each other. Whether I'm sitting in Bengal or whether I'm sitting in Assam or whether I'm sitting in Maharashtra, it doesn't matter. So I think that is very important right now. So me as an actor, I'm enjoying every moment. OTT is giving me a new audience. This is my first OTT debut. So I've been always saying after doing so much of work, Vikram has given me a break to work on. So that was but I enjoyed because I'm catering to a new audience, not a national audience. I'm talking about new generation. And they will know what kind of a work I had done.
It's always fascinating when I hear stories of creative collaborations between filmmakers and actors. Devashish, I want you to come in here. There's some sort of a magic that happens when it's you and Manoj Bajpayee. Talk to us a little about that.
If you don't mind, before that, I had something to say about what Boombada and Rima have been.
Absolutely, please.
So in a lot of, and this, what you guys are doing here, bringing a filmmaker who makes films in Maithili, bringing an Assamese filmmaker, a Bengali actor, and people from different parts of the country on the same panel. It's just something that I've been, like Rima, I've been struggling to form a community for many, many years. When I see the Malayalam filmmakers and the filmmakers in the Northeast, I see a lot of them come into each other's films in different capacities. Like in Kerala, a cinematographer produces someone's film. A producer goes and acts in someone's film. They're constantly working as a community, which is why they're churning out good independent film after good independent film. What is really tricky about the independent space in India is that outside of India, they don't see India the way we do. We see it as the Hindi independent space primarily when and that's problematic because when you go to a Rotterdam festival or a Berlin or a Venice or a Toronto, they look at Indian cinema as almost 30 languages. They don't see it as Hindi cinema. And this strange hegemony is not breaking, at least in conversations. And the real good cinema is actually coming from these other pockets, from the regions. And in the regions, like, for example, a Nagraj Manjule, When he makes a Fandry, he makes it in about 60 lakhs. And that film, just in Satara and Pune alone, makes about 2 crores. So it's self-sustaining, those independent film cycles. So our ecosystem is a very complex one. If you look at the Korean cinema, the Iranian cinema, they are homogeneous in their cultural idioms and in the language of the films they make. But because we are so heterogeneous, it's that much more important to find a common platform, because we're all facing the same fights, but we're not speaking the same language. Like my first film, Unga, which never released, was 50% in Odia. And when we tried to release it, nobody knew how to release it. Do we release it as an Odia film? Do we release it as a Hindi film? In the national awards, we didn't qualify as an Odia film because it was a Hindi producer. So I don't know, are we going to hit these obstacles all the time? I mean, are these even realistic obstacles? So then when I make an Ajji or a Bhosle, I want to make them in Marathi, but I'm not a Marathi filmmaker, so I'm not allowed to make it in Marathi. So I make Ajji as a Hindi film. Ajji has no business actually being a Hindi film. And I come from Calcutta, 24 years in Calcutta. I went back, and I'm having an honest moment here, so I won't hold back. Back to Calcutta for 6 months when my films weren't getting made in Bombay with 3 scripts. And this was more than 10 years ago. And I was told that, you're not Bengali, so we can't trust you to really get the pulse of the Bengali audience. I said, fair enough, but I'm also coming to experiment. Maybe we can experiment together. And I could not make a Bengali film. So I couldn't make a Marathi film. I couldn't make a Bengali film. I'm not from Bombay. I'm actually a Sindhi, but I'm forced to make a Bollywood film. Hence, I look for a savior, which was Manoj Bajpayee. Just sort of circling back to you.
Wow. But it's just amazing. I mean, we never knew that you cannot compete in the language category if your producer is not from...
If your producer is not Odia and you make an Odia film, you can't qualify as an Odia film in the national awards. If it's a Bengali film with a Bombay producer, you don't qualify. The producer and the director need to be from the region.
That's obnoxious. But that's ridiculous.
I say it's okay. Maybe I understand that you're trying as a center to support a state cinema. You want them to have, the priority when it comes to the award for that state. But what you're doing is you're opening up fractures. And then you're sort of making each state sort of feel like an independent nation. So we filmmakers need to come together and find that platform. Because even it's only in the international festivals. I was asked this question a lot in the last 2 years, that are we suddenly finding our feet as an independent cinema movement? There's so many films coming out of India being recognized. And I said that they were always being recognized only outside of Indian boundaries. It's only within India that we were blind to the fact that that Indian cinema is cinema in 30 languages, at least 30 languages, not just one language alone. So after like 18 or 20 films of mine that never happened, I have films that got shot and stayed in the cans. I accidentally met Manoj with a script almost 10 years ago.
Wow. And these were the sort of challenges that even Achal had spoken about, because Maithili is something they could not understand where to really put it in.
Because with an Assamese film, to some extent, like Rima is saying, you find an Assamese audience, although limited. With a Marathi film, you find a Marathi audience. You don't even need to look for Bombay. I've studied the market. You only release in Pune and Satara and you recover your money, because there is a loyal audience. Malayalam films, loyal audience, you'll make your money back. Where do you take a Maithili film? Because no one's made a Maithili film before Achal. So those struggles are struggles that are invisible. And the international sort of platforms get it. They celebrate India for the heterogeneity of our films. But we ourselves are still a little blind to it.
We need to make it visible.
Yeah. So therefore, FCG is important, because all of us are on a platform. This doesn't happen every day.
No, absolutely. I think this is such a powerful note to end this conversation with. But before I let you all go, I think we're going to end with one question that I want to put to all of you. A wish list, a wild wish list. The one thing that you would like to change with a magic wand immediately, overnight, that's going to help you make the kind of films that you want, or get the kind of roles that you would like. The one thing that you think it's high time should change.
Gosh, one thing, I can think of 10 things.
Wow, please.
Pay our writers a lot more. I think we need to think about the experience of cinema. I think that we are really in a place right now in society where there's this, like, for example, you want to go to a bar because there's a comedian performing that night, and similarly, like, I remember when I was a student in London, I used to go to a specific cinema to watch only indie cinema, and it was the Curzon, and it was right next to Leicester Square where all the big blockbusters used to happen. But in Curzon, used to get a beer and used to sit and watch these like weird films, and it was such a cool experience, right? And I feel like we haven't tapped into that, even though it's happening in other events. It's happening in the world of food and beverage. It's happening, it's happening unofficially. Like in Goa, we have screenings on these big, I go to this Panjim film club and I watch Casablanca on the big screen and things like that. So I just feel like there is so much potential to make cinematic experience, especially in our cities. There's enough audience for that. Yeah. And I love for producers and people who are putting films out there to think about that aspect of it. Because I know there are enough people who want to watch our films. It's just they're not getting access to it. I just wish to, get more work.
Kalki, somewhere in there you called our films weird films.
Weird films, yeah, weird films. No, I was talking about like international films in the Curzon, not your film ever, never.
I'd love for my films to be called weird films.
That's what's exciting, It's exciting because you get to think about things you never thought about. You get to, or you relate to something that you didn't know you could say out loud. I mean, there's so many aspects of this, which is all about human journeys and emotions. And ultimately, despite being from the most random place with a language you don't understand, you do relate, you do cry, you do laugh. So that means we're building the humanity of people. Cinema. We mustn't let that go. That's hope for me.
That's so heartfelt. Thank you, Kalki. Rima, coming to you.
My wish is more brave producers who have a lot of money. They are producing big commercial films, and they should, realize that we should coexist. We should make also different kind of cinema. That is my wish.
Yeah.
One person can bring a lot of changes.
Lot of change. True. Bumbada, one wish of yours, one thing you'd want to change? Or do you also have a big list?
No, there's a big list, but the time is short for me. So my wish is, as we were discussing, I was in Hyderabad last 2 days back. In fact, I started the Bengali film festival there for last 10 years. And I requested them this year, from the next year, let's start doing and find out the, individual good filmmakers from our country and do a festival. I think for me, it's like, as we were all discussing, we need to create, my wish is to create a platform. I can be just part of it, or maybe somebody who can initiate. And we need to know and identify the real good talents. It's not this kind of a film or that kind of a film. A good film has to be promoted from a particular platform where we can reach out to the maximum number of people, and people should be aware of it. Every film doesn't have a budget of spending on promotions and distributions. We understand that, but we can promote. We all can promote a film sitting in Bengali, in Assam or Maharashtra or in Bombay. If we think that it's a good film, we should. But somebody has to reach out to us to say that this is a film we have done it. Yeah. So we all can promote it from our platform, and it reach out to a bigger audience. And of course, you need to have a proper funding, which is. So I always try to do the same way. I don't act in all my films, but my production house is there to just first launch a first-time director. That's the way I operate from my Bengal. That's the way I handle myself. I don't produce film for myself.
Super. Thank you. Achal?
I mean, exactly what Kalki said. I think we really need smaller alternative spaces to, sort of have films to watch. I mean, I was also in London and I used to watch films at present, or I mean, there's Prince Charles and so many other, all these places, and every day I had one or the other option to go somewhere and watch anything. So I think obviously there are these PVRs and Inoxes, but we need more smaller spaces where there's lesser risk of releasing a film like ours. So yeah, that.
Shefali?
I'm totally lost, because I mean, I understand that there needs to be a funding, but I also understand that the film has to be viewed to be able to get that funding. So I don't really know where to start with this wish list or solution. I really genuinely don't know. I understand, I completely agree with everything that Sir's saying, or Kalki's saying, or Achal and Rima are saying. But all I'm trying to say is that where does this whole thing start? Okay, I need a platform where I can showcase this film to a lot of people, or at least a selected audience who appreciate this kind of film. But for all you know, there is an entire huge audience who wants to watch this. So I don't even know where it starts. I mean, do you tell producers who are making really big films that, while you're making one big blockbuster, put in some funds for a smaller one because you do it for passion? I genuinely don't know. And I wish there was a solution. Because, I feel it's like a cycle. It's like the chicken comes first or the egg. So I don't really know where it starts, where the funding comes or where the viewership increases, because all of it will finally depend on that, right? I mean, no matter where you want to take that film, if it's not going to be viewed, which is what happens to even the bigger films, then it's lost. I mean, how does anyone function? Whether it's a producer, director, financer, anyone, how do they take it forward?
Yeah, actually, no, Stuti, it's a little simpler than that, but it just takes a whole lot of will. I'll state an example. So the European uh, co-production system, out of which all the great European films emerge, all your Cannes winners and Venice winners and Berlin winners come from the European system, which is there are theater owners who are supposed to show a certain kind of cinema, whether they like it or not. Now then, there are sales agents who provide those kinds of cinemas. Those sales agents become bridges between the co-producers and those filmmakers and these theater owners. So there is a pipeline, and the state does half the funding. So as Bumbada said earlier, you need a little bit of state intervention, because ultimately all the solutions lie in distribution, distribution, distribution. Achal can make a film in 50,000 rupees. Rima can handle 6 of her departments alone, and we can make films in miraculously less amount of money, because we are all very sensitive to the fact that the money coming into a film is not our money, it's someone else's money. But once we make it, we just get lost. Like even on an OTT, all my films are on OTTs, and they found their audiences on OTTs, but the algorithms don't support the finding of my films. You have to really dig to find them. So and even Joram, now Joram was released by Z Studio, and they did a lot of promotion, which amounted to nothing at all, because the theater owners didn't show our films. I had friends landing up with tickets, and they said there are only 7 people with tickets, so we're canceling the show. You want to watch Animal, we'll give you those tickets or take your money back. So it all goes and hits a dead end when it comes to distribution. But when you have that kind of a co-production sort of pipeline where the state is partly responsible for the money and you are responsible to the state as well, so this entire pipeline becomes responsible, not just the filmmaker. And that pipeline has been doing really well for almost 100 years. They're winning awards, they're making the money back. Those filmmakers are told, make it in this much or you will not be able to make your money back, because the entire pipeline is now talking to you. So distribution is guaranteed the minute your film gets greenlit. And all the international winners, half the Oscar winners of the last 75 years come from that pipeline. But you need a little bit of state intervention. You can't leave us at the mercy of private equity out in the cold and expect us to work miracles. So it boils down to distribution. And the minute you talk distribution, you have to address the entire pipeline, which is a very difficult conversation and no one wants to have it.
He says it's simple.
Yeah.
No, it's simple to break it down, but it's really hard to begin.
No, but guys, we're at the end of this, but thank you so much for not just taking out the time for this conversation, but for doing what you guys do, your passion, the films that you make, the performances that you do. Thank you so much, and all the best. May the best person in each category win. But to my viewers, I want to address you directly. The one thing that we definitely can do is seek out good films, different sort of films, films that you probably haven't heard about in different languages, because cinema is what helps broaden your perspective, your vision. It's a great way to travel the world and understand people. And I think that as cinema lovers is something we all should do. Thank you, guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Stutee, and all the best, everyone.
Yes, all the best.
All the best. All the best.
All the best.
Thank you.